The transmission from the Arcturan front lines was a jumble of panic and static. The image flickered, showing a Gore garrison commander, his reptilian face pale with fear. They're gone, he hissed, his forked tongue stumbling over the words. The human forward operating base designation Outpost Cobalt. It's empty. Not a single human soldier remains. But the offensive has stopped. At the Galactic High Command, a coalition of a dozen species, and this news was met with a chilling silence. The Gore, a belligerent and expansionist empire, had been locked in a brutal stalemate with the United Earth Confederacy for 3 standard years. The humans, a terrifyingly young and aggressive species, fought with a ferocity that bordered on madness. They held their ground with dogged determination and launched counteroffensives with terrifying speed. Now, their forward operatives had simply vanished. The Gore High Command, initially ecstatic, ordered a full advance. Their generals, bloated with pride, saw only a rout, a sign of human cowardice. They pushed their armored divisions and bioengineered war beasts into the no-man's land, aiming for the heart of the human-held sector, a strategic nexus of supply lines and defensive platforms. The advance was swift and unopposed for an entire solar cycle. Then, the reports started coming in, and they made no sense. Patrols stopped reporting in. But scout ships entered a nebula and never emerged. A full battalion, 20,000 Gore warriors, marched into a dense, metal-rich forest to secure a flank. Their last transmission was a confused jumble of sensor readings, then nothing. No explosion, no distress signals, no signs of a firefight. They were just gone. Swallowed by the alien world. On the human side, a similar confusion reigned, but it was colder, more analytical. At the Joint Terrestrial Operations Command, in a vast subterranean bunker on a moon several systems away, Admiral Alara Vance stared at a holographic display. It showed the Gore advance as a crimson tide, pouring into the space her own forces had just abandoned. But her forces hadn't abandoned it. They had simply ceased to communicate. "Any contact with the 7th Mobile Infantry?" she asked, her voice calm but strained. "Nothing, Admiral. Last ping from their CO, Colonel Shepard, was 3 days ago. All telemetry, all comms. I just dropped out. It's not a jamming signature we recognize," her tactical officer replied. "And the Gore?" The officer pulled up another display. "They've advanced 200 clicks into the exclusion zone, and they're losing entire formations, just like we did." "It's not a fight, Admiral. It's an erasure." The tension in the room was a physical weight. The humans and the Gore had been fighting each other for so long, they understood each other's methods, each other's weapons. And this was something else entirely. Something that treated both armies as an inconvenience to be removed. The first clue came from a deep space listening post, a lonely satellite on the far side of the system. Its AI detected a faint, repeating energy signature emanating from the exclusion zone. It wasn't weapons fire. It wasn't a ship's drive. It was a rhythmic, low-frequency pulse, like the steady beat of a colossal alien heart. The pulse was emanating from a location deep within the zone, like a place that on all star charts was marked simply as the Veil Nebula, uncharted. Admiral Vance made a decision that went against every military instinct. She couldn't fight an enemy she couldn't see, and she couldn't protect her people from a phantom. She ordered a single, stealth-modified reconnaissance ship, the Theseus, to trace the signal. Its mission was not to engage, but to observe and report. The crew, 5 volunteers, knew the risks. They were sailing into a void where 2 armies had vanished without a trace. The Theseus drifted silently through the nebula, its hull absorbing all emissions. The pulse grew stronger, a deep, resonant thrum that vibrated through the ship's hull. On the 3rd day, they found it. It wasn't a weapon. It wasn't a ship. It was a structure, or rather a city, grown from the very matter of the nebula. Vast, spiraling towers of crystalline material pulsed with a soft internal light. The energy signature was coming from its core, and the city was not empty. Flitting between the towers were shapes, creatures of pure energy, their forms shifting and flowing like living plasma. They paid the Theseus no mind, going about their business in a silent, graceful ballet. The commander of the Theseus, Captain Jian Li, recorded his findings with a tremor in his voice. "They're not malevolent," he whispered into the recorder. "They're not even aware of us. We're like ants to them. But our ships, our weapons, our movements, we're a disturbance. We're noise. The pulse is a dampening field. When we or the Gore enter a certain radius of their city, our energy signatures, our biological processes, they're simply smoothed out, neutralized. We don't get destroyed, we just stop." He was about to order a retreat when a tendril of shimmering light reached out from the city and gently touched the Theseus. It wasn't an attack, it was an inquiry. For a brief and terrifying moment, Captain Li felt his consciousness expand, touching a mind so vast and alien it was like a drop of water falling into an ocean. He saw glimpses of their existence, their eons-long observation of the galaxy, their complete and utter indifference to the petty squabbles of its younger races. They were cosmic gardeners, and humanity and the Gore were nothing more than weeds growing too close to their flower beds. The tendril retracted. The ship was released. And the message was clear. You are a temporary annoyance. Leave or be removed. Captain Li's report sent shockwaves through both commands. The war, so vital, so all-consuming, was suddenly rendered meaningless. There was a third party in the conflict, one for whom their entire struggle was less than a flicker of static. On the Gore side, the news was met with disbelief and fury. Their supreme warlord, a creature of immense ego and ambition, refused to accept it. "A race of pacifists hiding in a cloud," he roared. "They are cowards! We will send our entire armada. We will atomize their city and prove the might of the Gore Empire." He was as good as his word. He recalled his fleets from the human front and amassed the largest force in Gore history. Thousands of warships, bristling with weapons, entered the Veil Nebula, their ion drives flaring like a swarm of angry stars. Admiral Vance watched their approach from the edge of the system, and she could have let them go, let them be obliterated. But a strange sense of shared destiny, a kinship born of common awe, stirred within her. She sent a single, unencrypted message on all frequencies, aimed at the Gore Armada and the heart of the Crystal City. "To the beings of the Veil," she began, her voice echoing in the silent bunker. "We, the people of Earth, acknowledge your presence. We acknowledge your power. We are but travelers in this galaxy, still learning its ways. We apologize for the disturbance our conflict has caused in your space. We will remove ourselves from your territory. We will not return." She paused, then directed her next words to the Gore. "And to the Gore Empire, I say this. You are about to commit suicide. Turn back. There is no glory in being erased. There is no victory in oblivion. This war, our war, is over. Not because one of us has won, but because something far greater has shown us we are both nothing." The Gore warlord scoffed at the feeble human plea. He ordered the advance. The armada plunged into the nebula. The Theseus, still lurking on the fringes, recorded everything. The energy beings in the city paused in their eternal dance. They seemed to turn, as one, towards the incoming storm. The rhythmic pulse from the city quickened, becoming a frantic, irritated thrum. The Gore ships, their weapons hot and ready, were suddenly enveloped in a shimmering field of light. It was not an explosion. It was a dissolution. The great warships, one by one, began to fade. Their metal hulls became translucent, then ghostly, then simply not there. The Gore warriors on board didn't even have time to scream. Their energy, their mass, their very existence was smoothed out of the fabric of space, just as Captain Lee had theorized. The entire armada, the might of the Gore Empire, they vanished in the span of a single heartbeat. The silence that followed was absolute. On the Gore homeworld, the news shattered their civilization. The warlord was executed by his own people. A new, more pragmatic government begged for a ceasefire. Admiral Vance received the Gore delegation on a neutral station. There were no victors, no vanquished, just two species, humbled and terrified. They signed a treaty of permanent non-aggression, and their mutual fear of the cosmic gardeners forging a bond that decades of war never could. But the story didn't end there. Years later, a small automated probe from Earth, on a mission to map the reclassified Veil exclusion zone, detected something impossible. A faint, coherent signal buried deep within the interference of the dampening field. It was a human military encryption. It was weak, garbled, and old, but it was unmistakable. It was from Colonel Shepard, the commander of the vanished 7th Mobile Infantry. The message was short, repeated on an endless loop. Infinity. They showed us infinity. We are not dead. We are part of it now. Tell them we are sorry we vanished. Tell them it's beautiful. The probe also picked up a second signal from a different frequency with a different encryption. It was Gore. The message was similar, filled with awe and a sense of terrifying peace. The two armies hadn't been destroyed. They hadn't been killed. They had been assimilated, not into a hive mind, but into the very energy of the cosmic beings. Their bodies were gone, but their consciousness, their thoughts, their memories had been absorbed into the vast, indifferent ocean of the aliens' existence. They were a permanent part of the garden now, a faint echo of a long-forgotten weed. Admiral Vance, now an old woman, received the decoded message. She read it in silence, on her eyes tracing the words of her long-lost soldier. She didn't share it with the public. She couldn't. How do you tell a species that their greatest warriors are not dead, but have become a part of a cosmic, indifferent god? How do you explain that the greatest mystery of the war was not a tragedy, but a transfiguration? She sealed the file, marking it for her successor and for the generations to come. The war with the Gore was over, but a far more profound relationship with the universe had begun. Humanity had learned that they were not alone, and that the greatest dangers were not those with claws and guns, but those who could simply smooth you out of existence and not even notice you were gone. The human operatives vanished. The aliens vanished alike. And in their vanishing, they left behind a truth more terrifying and more beautiful than any victory or defeat. That the universe was far stranger and far more powerful than they had ever dared to imagine.